So, there is this realm of the unseen, where there exists a hierarchy of spiritual forces, ancient entities that influence the world in ways most people never realize. The Bible speaks of them as powers and principalities, which refers to more than just earthly rulers. There are supernatural forces, the architects of deception, operating behind the veil. They manipulate governments, shape ideologies. They fuel conflicts that have plagued civilizations for thousands of years. Now, some believe these entities are fallen angels. Some see them as interdimensional beings who want to control the material world. But it's their influence that stretches across history. It's in those secret societies, those occult traditions, some of the things that make up the very foundations of our society. The chaos we see in the world isn't random. It's orchestrated. These principalities are the real puppet masters behind war, corruption, and suppression of truth. When we start to recognize their influence, we begin to see patterns, recurring cycles of deception and control. And if we better understand the nature of these forces, then that is the first step in breaking free. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Many people have noticed that throughout history, civilizations have risen and fallen, guided by unseen forces pulling the strings from the shadows. At least, that is what many people suspect. The concept of powers and principalities isn't just a religious idea. It's an idea for understanding the hidden forces that shape our world. Ancient cultures spoke of gods, spirits, celestial beings who influenced kings and rulers. In modern times, we see these same influences manifest through secret societies, secret agendas, mass manipulation. We see the decline of morality and truth. So, these entities operate through systems, governments, media, financial institutions, even religious organizations. I've gone over that before. But it's all done to make sure that we remain trapped, cycle after cycle of ignorance and conflict. When wars break out, economies collapse, society turns against itself. And how many of you think that is all by chance? How many of you think there is something orchestrating the chaos? If you know anything about the occult or esoteric teachings, you know that these principalities thrive on power and control. And they can achieve that through fear. Some traditions describe them as ancient intelligences that feed off human suffering, creating division to maintain their influence This is one of the main reasons why history keeps repeating itself. Why tyrants always seem to rise, why deception is embedded in the highest levels of power, and why certain bloodlines and elite groups seem to be untouchable. From entertainment to politics, the education system, global conflicts, all designed to keep humanity asleep. Because there is a greater spiritual war taking place. Now, the world is divided by borders, right? Lines drawn on maps that separate nations, cultures, and people. But while these divisions may seem political or geographical, they're really more than that. They serve a deeper, more insidious purpose. Powers and principalities don't just influence individuals, they rule over entire regions. And they shape the destiny of nations through unseen spiritual dominions. If we go back to ancient times, many civilizations believed that different territories were governed by distinct spiritual beings, often referred to as gods, archons, or celestial rulers. The Bible itself speaks of this in the book of Daniel, where the Prince of Persia and the Prince of Greece are mentioned not as human leaders, but as powerful spiritual entities influencing their respective empires. If these forces were at work thousands of years ago, what makes us think they've disappeared today? Look at how different regions of the world seem to be trapped in specific cycles of war all the time. The Middle East is a good example of this. There are spirits of war governing that region. Poverty, oppression, or ideological extremes. In some areas, authoritarianism thrives, with governments enforcing strict control over their people, and we already know the regions who have that reputation. In other words, chaos reigns, as if lawlessness has been allowed to consume entire populations, right? Some places seem permanently locked in religious or ethnic conflict, while others are centers of financial power, where we have greed and corruption ruling from behind closed doors. These patterns are not accidental. This is the influence of principalities that establish strongholds over regions, feeding off of the suffering and the fear, and the division that they create. Think about how world powers interact with one another. They have meetings, don't they? Alliances and conflicts that seem to repeat throughout history. The same empires rise, fall, and re-emerge in new forms, always maintaining dominance over specific regions. Western nations have always been associated with the spread of materialism, entertainment, cultural influence, keeping populations distracted and spiritually numb. The Middle East has been a battleground for millennia, as if something unseen is perpetuating conflict to prevent peace. Asia has been a place of authoritarian control, as if forces are working to either enlighten its people or suppress its people.